Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I just clapped really loud, sorry. Keep looking at myself and not the camera. Okay, so the first question is, I'm showing what is wrong with me? Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kate and I'm a first year high school biology teacher. So today I'm going to be doing the teacher tag, get to know me thing. Yes, so I realized that the first video I posted was my office tour, which I guess is a fine video to post. This will be my third video I upload. It's a fine video for me to post. I mean, I guess I should have done this one first, but I didn't know about it, so oops. So yes, today I'm going to be doing the teacher tag, get to know me, teacher questions, and I already looked at them because I wanted to be prepared beforehand. So yeah, let's just get into it. So the first question is, what do you teach and where? So I'm not going to say what high school I teach at, but I do teach in New Jersey. I teach high school biology, more specifically CP biology, which is like college prep or the standard biology, and SCP biology, which is our version of resource. And I teach it to 10th graders. I haven't started yet, it's my first year, which is technically the second question. So the second question is, how long have you been teaching? So formally, 0 years. I have only done my student teaching in a public school. Now I did address this a little bit in my, what video is this called? In my student teaching do's and don'ts video, which will be coming out after this one. I kind of talked about a little bit of my teaching experience. So I am a first year teacher, so I have no like formal teaching experience. However, I did a year-long student teaching where I taught CP, honors, and AP biology. And my previous teaching experiences include me being like a lecture assistant. I was an outreach coordinator for a DNA student outreach project for education. I am still a marine and environmental biology instructor. And for a little bit, I was an honors chemistry and math teacher. So all in all, that education or that teaching experience is over or almost 3 years, because I started my job as a marine and environmental biology instructor in September of 2017. So almost 3 years. So yeah, I love teaching. Did you always know you wanted to be a teacher? No. Growing up, I wanted to be like a background dancer for like NSYNC or something. That's just what I wanted to do. And as I grew up and like those kind of dreams become more unrealistic, I played The Sims, and I still play it a lot. I fell in love with like architecture and like home design. So I wanted to do something with interior design, with architecture, and I didn't really know. And that was kind of in the back of my mind when I was in middle school. Sorry, my dog is like sleeping. And yeah, so that was in the back of my mind, and it even was in my mind in high school. I took an interior design class, which I liked, but I was like, I just like kind of like doing this for fun. It wasn't something I see myself doing as a career. But I'll kind of get into the last question is what is one reason you decided to become a teacher, and it is really the main reason, so I'll get into that later. What is your typical teacher outfit of the day? Something like this. I mean, like a blouse, like a floral blouse, because we love florals. A floral blouse, I got this from Old Navy. Usually a pair of slacks. The colors, I have all different kinds of colors. I got black, red, orange, yellow, pink, blue. I just like wearing a top and slacks and yeah, dresses too, skirts. I mean, it depends, but pretty much the staple thing I wear definitely every week is a pair of black slacks with a nice top and flats and like statement earrings and like typical, like just regular makeup. That's pretty much it. What do you usually bring for lunch? Well, if it was a good day and I actually prepared lunch, I would usually bring a Greek salad. I had the bad habit of not packing lunch, not bringing lunch, and not eating lunch for a while because I would just go get Chipotle, honestly, after my student teaching. I am one of those people that I can either wake up and like be starving and so ravenous, or I wake up and I don't have to eat for like 8 hours. That's just how I am. So the days where I would wake up and not have to eat for 10 hours or 8 hours, I just wouldn't eat lunch. And by the time my student teaching was over at like 2:45, I was like, I need food, I'm gonna die. So on the days I was good and I brought lunch, it would usually be a Greek salad. And yeah, pretty much it, pretty boring. What are some of your favorite books about teaching? This is like kind of the book I had over here. Okay, so I don't have one answer because I personally believe that every single book I read, all of these, and some over there that you guys can't see, but you would see in my office tour, I personally believe that every single book that I've ever read about education and teaching and my content area were so invaluable and so important and so meaningful that I can't just pick one because they all have impacted me and improved my pedagogy and, you know, broadened my perspectives of so many different fields and aspects of education, whether that be special education, you know, scientific inquiry in education, you know, multicultural and diverse education, so important, you know, social emotional learning, all of those things are just, you can't pick one thing that's more important than the other, especially in my content area where I teach high school biology and where, you know, scientific literacy is so important. Building a culturally responsive learning environment is so important. There's not one thing, in my opinion, that stands out to be the most important. However, this book right here, it's called Privilege, Power, and Difference by Alan G. Johnson. It's such a short read. I had to read this for my master's program. I was in a 600 level diversity in education class, and this is one of the books I had to read. I already was aware of my privilege when I was in college, my undergraduate. I took race and ethnicity, which broadened my perspectives more than they already were, and this just skyrocketed how much I don't know and how much I need to know and how much I need to learn to be better. And this book is so important because it talks about the privilege and the power and the difference between rich and predominantly white communities and the quality of education they receive in comparison to minority, underserved, not privileged communities. And as someone who is white, as someone who is female, and as someone who went to a pretty decent school district, my perceptions of education were so skewed and I guess, you know, molded around my own experiences. And I found while reading this book and while talking to colleagues and coworkers and people in my cohort that your perceptions of what teaching is like are going to be impacted by your own education. And your teaching experiences may not always be reflective of your own experiences as a student. So this book is such a great read for anyone, but especially teachers who may not realize that where they're going to end up teaching may be so incredibly different than where they went to school. And I already have met people who have shown their just privilege and their own racism when they found out they were student teaching in a community that was predominantly minority and underserved. And the anger and the frustration and the disappointment that individual had was mind-blowing because they expected to be teaching at, you know, a very high-class public school with no minorities, with no issues, and that's a problem. And it's definitely a problem in the education system now. As someone who's new, and sees these things, it's big. So this book is so important right now, especially with the Black Lives Matter movement and everything. I highly recommend you guys get this on Amazon. It was not that expensive, and it resonates so loudly with the current times. And it's a shame that the very first paragraph of this book, the introduction, talks about Rodney King. If you guys don't know about that, it was when the riots happened, I'm pretty sure in the 90s. In the 90s, when protests happened because a black motorist named Rodney King suffered a brutal beating by police officers. And the fact that that is basically 30, yes, my gosh, is that 30 years ago? All of 90s? Wow, basically 30 years ago, that it's still happening now, and people think that we're not living in an age of inequality and inequity, and I can go on about that. So this book is so important for you, if you are a white teacher, to realize the privilege you have and how it's okay to recognize your privilege, but how it's not okay to not do anything about it, and to realize that you have the power to, be better and be more accepting and use that privilege to make a change for individuals who don't. So highly recommend that book. Sorry, that was like a big rant. Okay, so going along those same lines, what is one of your favorite teacher movies? So as I've grown up and read more about the world and education, this has changed for me. Ooh, sorry, that was like a loud. I still personally think The Freedom Writers with Hilary Swank, for me, it was one of the reasons why I wanted to become a teacher. And I understand how that movie is a white savior movie, and I understand how it's like a white figure being the savior of a bunch of minority students. I get it. I absolutely get it now. I'm trying to consume more media that is not white savior and not, it more focuses on other things. So I'm sure I'll do this tag again once I finish my first year of teaching, and that answer will be different. So yeah, who is your favorite teacher? I'm going to answer this question with the last question because they go hand in hand. Who are some of your favorite teacher, YouTubers, Instagrammers? So that's a good question. The Blissful Biologist on YouTube, I love her because she is a biology teacher on YouTube, which there are not that many of, so I like her. I'll have her YouTube link down below. She's just great. She teaches in Florida, and I recommend her. And then the other teacher YouTuber, she is like the other side of teaching for me. She's the planning side. Excuse me. She is Tattoo Teacher Plans. Yes, Tattoo Teacher Plans, and she's the one that made me fall in love with like teacher planning and organization, and she's why I bought some of my planners. So I love her, so I'm gonna have her link down below as well. She was actually more the inspiration of why I wanted to start my channel, because I want this channel to be a mix of like plan with me videos and like teacher vlogs and teaching advice. So the both of them kind of inspired me to like amalgamate their channels into one. So yeah. What is one of your best classroom management tips? Okay, so that's a good question. I think preventive measures are key. If you can't do that, that's okay. When you have a student that's disruptive, I've found that it's always best to address that student as privately as possible. Don't call attention to them, because honestly, they want the attention. I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever taken classroom management classes in college, and if you haven't, you'll see this. There are a plethora of reasons why students act out, why students are disrespectful, why students don't follow the directions, and how teaching has moved forward is to, one, prevent an environment where your student feels like they have to act out. But if they are, it's best to be supportive of not the behavior, but of the student and getting them on track. So addressing them as privately as possible, putting a sticky note on their desk and saying, take off your hood, follow along, read the directions, don't call attention to them. And I found that putting the sticky note on the desk is a great strategy for me personally. Someone who teaches high school, someone who does a mix of like lecturing and labs and activities, it's different. So that's a good strategy. Also, speaking to them after class in private and addressing their behavior and saying, hey, what's going on? You know, what can I do as your teacher to make this environment more suitable, where you can be an active participant, where you can engage in class discussion? What can I do so we can get you on track? You know, and using those strategies by PBIS, I'll link the website down below, but avoiding power struggles, speaking in a calm, neutral tone, getting eye level with them, and just making sure that you don't lose that relationship and you don't break whatever bond you have tried to build. Because once you lose that, especially in high school and especially in middle school, it's over. I mean, if you've ruined that relationship, it's going to be so hard to build it back up again. So just speaking as privately as you can and just making sure that you are being supportive of the students' needs and what you can do to get them on track. Yeah. So then the last question is, what was the one reason you decided to become a teacher? And this corresponds to who was my favorite teacher. I had a high school biology teacher who was just amazing and so supportive. And like I mentioned, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I've had really bad experiences with teachers in the past, and I'll kind of touch upon that maybe in another video because it's already so long. But I was walking to school one day, and it was like October, November, and I didn't have any gloves. And I walked to school because I lived close to my high school, and my bio teacher saw me walking to school without any gloves on, and she stopped me and she said, hey, where are your gloves? And I didn't have any. And the very next day, a pair of gloves were sitting on my desk for me. And that moment just changed everything for me. And I never tried harder in a subject than I ever had before. And I ended up getting the highest grade, a perfect score on the biology midterm, the highest grade of anyone in our class. And rather than giving me 100, she called me over and she gave me my paper and she said, now this is science and this is biology and this is a hard worker and this is what it means to be a scientist. And after that, I was just like, wow. It really rocked my world, and it's like, thinking about that now, it's like a memory that I'll never forget. So she is by far my favorite teacher, has made me want to become a teacher, and not, you know, just I think my ultimate teaching goal is not to make students fall in love with biology like my teacher did, but to just make students fall in love with something and find their passion in something. So yeah, that's me. I'm Kate. That's all the questions there are, and I'm gonna let my dog out before he starts barking. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe for more teaching related content. And yeah, I gotta go. Bye. First question. God, my face is so itchy because since I've been doing nothing, well, I've been going to work, but I work in a vivarium, so I don't have to wear makeup. But like wearing makeup and like doing stuff and like my hair flying in my face because it's not in a bun,